We just got our set of Jeep cables for the WJ, so let me show you why we needed these.
So one thing I've noticed with this Jeep is that it takes a little bit to start up once in a while. And what I noticed is when I looked under the hood, you take a look at the cables, and first of all, you can see they're like not well on there. And then second of all, if you look at this side, we have some corrosion. So these Jeeps are very temperamental with the voltage that it gets. So having corrosion like that is actually going to prevent the Jeep from like starting up or staying on and running. Even that little amount of corrosion can cause that. And a lot of people don't know, but you can actually get corrosion inside of the wire and you wouldn't even be able to tell. And if your stock wires are corroded and you have to cut them back to put new clamps on it, there really isn't that much wire left. So we're gonna go ahead and replace these with an upgraded kit from JeepCables.
If you're trying to upgrade your old cables for some Jeep cables right there, make sure to use the code Najar on their website. You will get free shipping on your order. And also, we are doing a giveaway for a set of cables. Make sure to click the link down below so you can sign up. No purchase is necessary. All you have to do is put in your name, your email, and then you can be entered into the Jeep Cables giveaway. So make sure to take advantage of that while it runs. All the information is on there. So anyways, let's get back into the install.
So this is actually their beefy kit right here. As you can tell, these wires are super thick. These are the 0 gauge cables. So here is everything that is included. This is their big 7 kit, the 0 gauge. So this stuff is really thick. And let me go over everything real quick, and then we'll talk about the gauge size and which one is perfect for you. So everything that you notice on these wires, first of all, let me show you something cool. Made in USA. So these are made in America, and these are fine strand copper wires. A lot of the wires that you find like on eBay or Amazon, you're gonna find copper coated wires. These are straight up copper. Not only are they straight up copper, these are not made in someone's driveway. These are professionally crimped, rated up to 700 pounds of force. And they got marine grade heat shrink. And as you can see, that little line below the heat shrink, that's like the glue that makes it watertight. So each of those actually tells you where that end goes to. So that one goes to the firewall. This side goes to the cylinder head. This side goes to the fender, this one to the battery. So you know where everything goes. And there is a fuse that comes with it. There's a 150 amp, a 200 amp, 250, and a 300. So that's just gonna depend on your alternator. If you have a stock alternator, 150 will be just fine. If you have upgraded alternators for, you know, lighting and audio and all that, you might have to go up to these sizes. But for most WJs, it'll be this one. You can do the Durango alternator mod, and I believe it's a 200 amp. You'll have to verify that yourself, but it's cool that they include all that. And then we also got military grade battery posts as well. So you get the complete kit when you order from JeepCables. So if you look at these cables, this is the new one here. You could see the size difference side by side. This is definitely heavy duty stuff right here. What size gauge of wire do you need for your Jeep? So let's talk about that. So this is a 0 gauge, right? JeepCables offers 2 gauge, 4 gauge, and the 0 gauge. 4 gauge is gonna be the closest to the stock wiring. So if you just want to replace it because you have some corrosion in the wires or something, 4 gauge is gonna be your best bet. But if you have a winch or some light bars, bunch of accessories running off of your battery, you're probably gonna wanna go with the 2 gauge. And if you have like a heavy duty sound system or something like that, and you notice your lights are dimming, stuff like that, probably gonna want to go with the 0 gauge for that. So pretty much the more accessories you have, the lower the gauge you want. So I'm gonna start by taking off the looms, disconnecting all the wires, and then we'll get going from there. Now you see that? I definitely need to change out those wires. So we are gonna start off by taking all this off. This is just tape on the edges. So with the bigger wires, we definitely won't be able to reuse this. This is too small. Okay, so I'm actually gonna remove the battery because I know we're gonna have to make some modifications to the fuse box and run the wires through there, so it'll probably be easier. Okay, so I am pretty much done taking all the plastic stuff off. This I'm not gonna take off, and that one either, because I still gotta take off the one that goes to the starter, the loom, but it's pretty much all there. So on the inline six, it's not too hard. I'm pretty sure the V8 is probably a little bit harder, but this is definitely something I think anyone can do. I mean, everything's labeled, so it shouldn't be too hard to get this done. So we do have to remove this ground here. That's one of the cables that goes to the batteries. We're gonna have to remove these 2 10s here. We're gonna replace those wires. As you can see, it goes red to the battery up here. Starter, we're gonna have to remove this cable here. We're gonna have to modify that as well. And then down there is that ground for the block. Right there's the ground for the head, goes off of this. And then, like I said, the starter wire. So this is side by side. Here you can really see the difference in the wires. I mean, that is definitely an upgrade that I recommend you guys do. So now that we got that off, we can start installing that. So what I ended up doing is I laid everything out pretty much to how the stock one is. This way it's just easier to manage. So I'm just gonna grab this side, which is what connects to the fuse box, and then the black one to the fender, and then route it from there. I even have the fuse in line already. I just need to tighten it down and screw it somewhere. And I pretty much, yeah, have it laid out. It just makes it easier. And this is definitely heavy duty. You can tell by how much weight this carries, but let's go ahead and route that in here. Bam. Somewhere around here. Okay, so now we can start working with it. I'm gonna start with this ground wire here. So I'm just gonna route it pretty much where the stock one was. All right, so we have that ground in place. I did tighten it down because this fuse box is gonna cover it. So I'm gonna put the fuse box back on the clips. Bam. Now we got these that say PDC, 2 of them. Those both go on the fuse box here. We're gonna have to make some modifications to the fuse box for these to fit. So what I did is I took these pliers, I cut on the corners here, and then I just broke that little piece off to give us more room. Now we just have to play with it to pretty much figure out what's the best way these are gonna fit. Since these are bigger wires, it is a little bit more challenging. All right, so I got both of those in. Since these are thicker wire, they are a little bit harder to get in, but you definitely can. The way I suggest is putting them in enough to grab the nut on both of them, and then just tighten it down and it'll settle itself. But what we do have to do is modify this tray here. As you can see, I did cut all this. There was like this piece here, and I trimmed up some of the edge here as well. But now everything fits as it should. And the next step is to find a location for the fuse and then mount that. All right, so we got the fuse box mounted. I put it on the battery tray itself. It's not gonna get in the way of the battery. This is just gonna hold it down. I think on my Jeep, I might've done it on here, but I figured that would be a good spot that we can actually change out the fuse instead of like on this piece here. So that's going good. Next is we're gonna connect the starter, the ground down there. Already got the alternator. You do have to modify the little cap if you still wanna use it, but that's good to go there. Just gotta tighten everything up afterwards and pretty much ready. This is honestly not a hard job to do. I feel like this is something anyone could do, especially with everything being labeled. It's pretty hard to mess up. Now you can see it's starting to come together, pretty much where all the cables are going to be. Just gotta zip tie and do some cable management. One thing you're gonna notice is some of the cables are longer than the stock ones, which I don't think it's a bad thing. Yes, you do have to do more cable management, but this way in the future, if you ever have an issue with the cable, maybe it starts corroding somewhere, you can always cut it shorter, add a new end, and still reuse the same cable. So that's one of the benefits of having longer than what you need for the cables. Now, like I said, I'm gonna do some wire management here just to make sure that nothing is in the way and everything's tidy. So I ended up trimming the cap for the alternator, and now this actually sits on there. So if you want to keep that piece on there, make sure to just trim up the end and it'll fit. So we're pretty much to a point where I'm happy with how everything is routed. I did zip tie some stuff down. And let me see if I can get some of that for you guys. See right there. It goes up and around, pretty much the stock locations. Over there, I decided to do a bigger loop to kind of hide some of the wire there. And then we also did the ground, which I routed down underneath the AC, up and over to the cylinder head. And I did have to use some washers because the eyelet was a little bit bigger than the bolt. So put that there, and then I did bend that up to get it off of the coil. That's perfect there. And yeah, we're pretty much done. Next step is connecting the battery terminals and tightening these up, and that's about it. I put these on kind of diagonal because it just fit better that way with the thicker wires. So everything is nice and cleaned up. In my opinion, this is the best I can do. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could take some loom and cover every single cable up, but I don't mind having it just like that. I don't like how this is touching, so I might bend this a little bit just so that way this cable isn't rubbing on the AC. I might just bend it a little bit. You can tweak it a little. I wouldn't recommend moving it too much. But I mean, overall, pretty simple process. This is definitely something everyone can do. And JeepCables does give you a bunch of cool stickers, so time to put one on the Jeep. Dang, we got the one with the flake. I don't even know. This one looks really cool, so I put this one on. Let's go. Shout out to JeepCables. Last thing to do is we're gonna make sure everything turns on. Let's go.
If you guys have any questions on the install, make sure to leave a comment down below. Also, if this video did help you out, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to sign up for the giveaway. And also, if you're gonna buy a kit, use code Najar and you'll get free shipping. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.